I'm sure you recall a story that we covered, and a lot of people were covering as well, of a mum and her daughter desperately trying to get the grandmother out of a care home. This is Leandra Ashton and her mother Ylenia Angeli, and we had the most extraordinary scenes of the mum being handcuffed in a police car after they tried to basically break their grandmother out of her care home, where they felt she wasn't being cared for well enough and they weren't being allowed to see her. We've got an ongoing issue with people still not able to see their elderly relatives.
It's the most terrifying thing, isn't it? That your relative, a functioning human being, regardless of whatever their mental or medical state, can suddenly become a ward of the state without you having any say, and not because you're sort of negligent or abusive, just because they say so, just because they say, well, health emergency, this person's got to be looked after, and you can't be trusted to be around them, and they can't be trusted to make their own decisions. I think that was, I wouldn't say that was the moment that anything turned. I think lots of people had suspected and seen this sort of creeping up on us already with the actions of Derbyshire Police Force, for example. But it was just another signifier of the way things have gone in this country, that
absolutely.
actually all is not well.
Indeed. Well, look, let's have a little listen to the video which we played out last month. This is it happened in a car park in East Yorkshire when Leandra Ashton shared footage of her mother being handcuffed by the police while her grandmother with dementia, 97 years old, sat in the car during the entire incident. Let's have a listen and a little watch, if you're watching this on YouTube as well, to what happened.
So let's just make this very clear. My nan, my 97-year-old nan here, who we have taken from the care home because we haven't seen her for 9 months, is now being taken back by force to her care home. My mother has been arrested. My mother is in the back of the car here. She is a nurse. She is a fully qualified nurse who is wishing to care for her own mother. And here we have an incredible use of police time to take my 97-year-old grandmother back into a care home where she is deteriorating, where we haven't been able to see her for 9 months. Nan, I love you and we are going to fight for you.
If that does not bring tears to your eyes, I really don't know. But I am delighted to say that Leandra Ashton and her mother join us right now. That's Ylenia Angeli, with the knowledge that you have your grandmother at home with you right now. Leandra and Ylenia, thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So lovely to talk to you. Leandra, first of all, let's talk about this. You've been battling, you and I have been in contact ever since then. You've just been battling for, there's the legal right to take your grandmother out of the care home. The care home insisting towards those purposes, sort of own her, that you had no rights to take your grandmother out of the care home. What was their reasoning?
Yeah, what's come to light since that video was shot was that an unlawful dolls was placed on my grandmother. So a dolls is a deprivation of liberty, and many people without capacity for themselves are placed under a dolls act or a dolls order. But we weren't consulted as a family. So we sought some amazing advice from a lawyer in London, a barrister, who said this has not been put in place lawfully. So we've kind of been on this really steep trajectory of learning in terms of what are our rights, what are the human rights, what are the rights of someone under the Mental Capacities Act. And I just feel like this is information that everybody needs to know at the moment, because all our liberties are being taken from us and our loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that lots of people have been told you're going to be able to see your elderly relatives before Christmas. Well, we're a week before the Christmas freedom 5-day period starts. I don't know many people at all who've been allowed. Certainly, I've not been able to visit my elderly aunt in her care home. That's not been allowed yet. What was extraordinary was that even though you were saying you wanted to both take the grandmother out, and Ylenia, you're a retired nurse. There's no way at all that anyone could question your ability to care for your 97-year-old mother, Tina. And yet they said it just wasn't safe. They had a duty of care. You not able to see her, not able to hug her. And you were growing increasingly concerned about your mother's health, weren't you?
Oh gosh, yes. It has been a total nightmare, actually, because it didn't matter how loud we shouted or arguments we brought forward. We weren't being listened to. And yes, we have Mum actually in the room with us now, which is so amazing. But we were alarmed at the state that she was in when we got her home. She's very bruised. Her legs are very bruised. She had oral thrush. She had bruising on her arms. She oh, and her, the state of her like toenails was just like, I've never seen anything like it. It was like that dreadful fairy story where, you know, the toenails actually went over the ends of the
Oh
toes and
goodness! So
curled underneath.
she wasn't getting some basic care that she did need, and you were worried also that she'd lost a lot of weight. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we know elderly people in care homes, particularly with dementia, that is often a very big issue. But it's often one of the reasons why people sadly die. So you got her home before the weekend, Leandra. You when we spoke on the phone about this, you said actually you were you were just so relieved to get her home and just to sort of to be cared for properly by the family.
Absolutely. And I think what this is showing, if we didn't know it before, is that the social care system as it currently stands is so reliant on families going in. There is such a lack of funding for that sector of society. And there are care assistants who are on minimum wage there's not enough care assistants in the care homes. You need the family to be there in order to supplement the care, to do the things like check the toenails, how much has she had to drink, how much has she had to eat. So without that in place, I mean, at the moment, as you said, we have a national emergency in our care homes. And this isn't just the elderly, there are young people and it's their families. We've had so many relatives contact us telling us that they themselves are now under a crisis team. They have had breakdowns because they haven't been able to see their loved ones. And how this can be deemed in any way protecting or saving lives, it just shows the level of political spin that is currently out there.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's one thing when you have a relative, old or young, who you can actually speak to. But when you're talking about someone as old as your grandmother, Tina's got dementia, it's impossible to explain to them why you're not visiting, why you're not there seeing her every day. And I know that certainly Ylenia used to go in virtually every single day to visit and care for your mother. A very, very loving family, wanting to be there and being denied the right to be there based on the safety of your mother when clearly she wasn't in a safe place. You did face arrest from the police. There's an extraordinary video showing a loving daughter being handcuffed by the police for effectively sort of kidnapping your own mother from her care home to care for her. I mean, quite an absurd state of affairs for us to be in the 21st century in Britain. But we know that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of other families who are also despairing about not seeing their family members. What was your message be to them today, Ylenia?
Don't give up hope. We're right beside you. We're fighting your battle every inch of the way. We really want to have an audience with Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock if we can. We need to speak face to face, and we want to be listened to. We want to be the voice of all those without voices, because there are so many thousands of them all up and down the country, and they are so suffering. They're suffering, their families are suffering. You know, the collateral damage is enormous. It is vast, and we're destroying, the people of this nation are, it's like a torture.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Everyone's obsessed with saving lives, and of course we want to save lives, but it's also about quality of life, and it's also about things that matter, like family, like loving relationships, like being able to hug and touch people. These things do matter, don't they? Leandra, tell us what it's been like having your grandmother back home, where you can see and care for her and make sure that she is safe and looked after. What has it felt like?
It's been incredibly emotional. I think we spent the first 12 hours just crying.
Yeah.
It's such a relief to be able to touch her, to be able to play songs that she responds to talk to her in Italian because she's regressed back to her mother tongue. I can see her, she's sleeping peacefully at the moment, and just to be able to see her is just,
it's amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And we can hear her snoring gently just in front of us, and it's just such a lovely sound.
No, I just want to. Do you know what? I think most people listening to this right now, actually everyone listening to this right now, would hope to have a daughter and a granddaughter as loving and caring as you two. I absolutely salute you two for just being amazing relatives to the grandmother Tina, and I wish you, all of you, the very, very, very best, and well done for fighting for what you knew was the right thing to do to make sure that she was safe. And I know everyone here at Talk Radio is absolutely backing you, and we just got to make sure sure that every family can see their loved ones in their care homes, because these things matter. Family matters and love matters, and all credit to you two for doing such an amazing job for your family. Thank you so much for joining us.